wake up and welcome to another episode here for the Fun Report, Mindful Media and Communication. And I'm just done listening to everybody's podcast daddy, Joe Rogan. I listened to the Mark Zuckerberg episode. And I planned on recording this before, but now I was like, I have to record it right away. Because, we all heard what he announced, so the fact-checking thing. And I just want to use as always, media communication theory to look at, like, what does that actually mean? And, oh God, I don't even know where to start. The only good thing, and from my point of view, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong, as you will always do so kindly in the comments, only good thing to listen to Mark on Joe Rogan was when he talked about, like, his martial arts journey. That was actually, like, relatable. The rest was like, is that an English saying? Like in Germany, we say it's like a flag in the wind, right? It's like, now you're saying all those things because you want that your cool tech/martial arts bros accept you and agree with you. While before you were doing anything to please the Biden administration, now you just do whatever it takes to please Trump and the incoming administration. It's so obvious. Oh, it's so annoying. But hey, this is not a personal takedown of Mark, because it's like I said, the martial arts stuff was very relatable. I really enjoyed that actually. I want to look at it like through the media theories kind of lens. What he said, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And so on. And mostly at the core of the discussion right now, the next 10 minutes, will be like the announcement by Meta that they get rid of fact checking. So as you might have heard, Facebook/Meta has like this new approach to fact checking, and Mark's of course now explaining it and saying like why this is the case. And I think this whole thing of course will also have huge impact on like anything political. Political discourse will be impacted by missing fact checking. So the thing is, so far fact checking, and it's very interesting by the way, so far fact checking is done by actual fact checkers, organizations/people that are paid to check the facts. Not that well, depending on the country that they're in, the region that they're in. There are different fact-checking centers in different regions. So, for example, over here in Southeast Asia, it's probably in the Philippines, they probably are not as well paid as now fact checkers that work, for example, in Germany. I'm German, as you know, so I know that. Very often it's journalists who work as fact checkers as well. So you would hope that A, they take the job serious, and B, are paid a little bit better to actually do it. But they want to get rid of it. And the first step is to get rid of them in the US. If they can get rid of them in Europe, it remains to be seen, because, different laws. It's also something that Mark was hating on the Joe Rogan experience. And replace it with community nodes, what's happening on X right now. And the thing that Mark mentioned many times now was that fact-checking is kind of censorship, which it is not. So first, fact-checking is, we're checking the facts, and then you get a note to it. Whether or not Facebook, Instagram, whatever, then actually censors the post is still up to the platform. They could just show the post with the fact-checking. That's what they could do. So actually, then if there was any censoring happening, it was done by Meta, not by the fact-checkers themselves. Then he says that fact-checkers might have gotten too much power, might have gone too left-leaning, too woke, and then checked stuff that wasn't supposed to be checked or something along those lines. So their bias took over, is what he's saying. And while this is fair criticism, because it's just people, and so of course people eventually might be biased to some extent, understandable, do you think that random community nodes will be less biased? So that's already like, I just hate that the argument does not make any sense. If he would say, hey, we're getting rid of fact-checking. Fact-checking gives us so much trouble. It's so expensive. We're paying so much money. It costs us like $1 billion per year. If you don't do fact-checking anymore, we save $1 billion. We can use that to develop like better algorithms, better AI, whatever it might be. Yeah, it's your decision as a company. Great. But the pseudo argument that fact-checkers are too biased and hence community nodes will be better And by the way, community notes will be, they said it too, they will be like displayed less prominently, right? So you know that it's BS, the community notes, but hey, oh God. So I just don't like when supposedly smart people make dumb arguments. And he knows it's dumb. He is smart, so he knows it's dumb. So that's something that I already don't like. It's also, again, trying not to make it too personal, because I like that he does martial arts, for example. Right? So I like stuff about him. But it's just a communications thing, right? Like, he thinks that we're dumb enough to fall for that argument, even though it's clear that it doesn't make sense. Okay. So we do know that there was, like, Facebook was struggling with misinformation, of course. He mentions in the podcast as well. And that's the main reason why they are like doing those changes now. And yeah, so they're also changing moderation efforts, of course. He said it's always difficult to do content moderation, which, yes, understandable. And he says now that free speech, that they now see that the users want more free speech again, while before they were clamoring more for security or something along those lines. So what he's basically saying, like, yes, we're moving wherever the wind blows, right? We're moving with that. That's basically what he said in the podcast with Joe Rogan. Yeah, before I dive into the media theories, just the one thing, and that's why I was waiting for a second in the back of my head. I just need to get it out. He was also hating on the fact that the European Union is suing tech companies in Europe, even American tech companies that do business in Europe, when they break European law. Yes, that's pretty much how law works. And as a European, I thank you for breaking the laws and bring money to Europe. Thank you very much, Mark Zuckerberg. Because it's mostly privacy regulations that laws that they're breaking, right? So, yes. What's your point? He made the point, like, American companies are getting taken advantage of. No. It's just like European companies, maybe because they based in Europe, they know the law better, or they know that law is something serious that you don't just get out of, unlike maybe American companies. I don't want to make it like an America versus Europe thing, but it was just a very condescending and annoying, like, statement that he put out there. Like, not even a statement, but just like annoying, like, thought that he put out there. Like, they're taking advantage of the American companies. No, they're not. It's like, doesn't matter if you're an American company, an Asian company. Just ask how often TikTok gets sued. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from if you're breaking the privacy laws. And yes, they're more stringent, more strict than in other parts of the world. So people there seem to like it. If they're okay with it, if that's what the people want, then how about you listen to the people? I know it's a weird thing to say, but maybe listen to what the people want, not just what your stakeholders want. So I had to get this out, okay. But now back to the media part, all right. So I try to keep it at three theories that were already discussed, and I just want to show you how they apply here. One of the main theories that we discussed many times on the podcast is the use and gratification theory, right? This theory means you, as the content producer, as the media company, you give the audience what they're longing for. This could be entertainment, this could be education, political content, whatever they're longing for, you give it to them, then they will come back to you, okay? So now we look at, like, how do users approach Facebook, Meta, like Instagram and so on, for news, and maybe how changes in fact-checking affect the media consumption and media production. You know? And I think we can already figure out, like, that if there's less fact-checking, more fake news, more fun memes maybe too, right? Freedom of speech, sure. But there will be more content out there that might not be necessarily as truthful as the content we have right now. And this could be lots of fun. Sure, lots of fun. That's what Rogan always says. Let people have anonymous accounts. Yes, I agree. It's going to be lots of fun. Hopefully. So again, I don't want to hate right away. So hopefully it leads to more fun interactions. But as someone who uses the internet, you also know that if there's no moderation and no checking, the hate speech is gonna, like, just go through the roof. Second theory, gatekeeping theory. We talked about this like once or twice before, I think. Because in this case, Meta, and I just use Facebook right now as a gatekeeper, right, in the era of like, how do we call this? Like algorithmic control, maybe. It's just not to be understated, I believe. And the thing is, if you're like on Instagram, on Facebook, on any Meta platform right now, other platforms too, but I'm sticking with Meta as the example now because we're talking about Mark. Yes, first name basis. The algorithm shows you stuff you're interested in. And with the fact checking and moderation, things that are maybe against the standards, against rules, regulations, wouldn't have been shown to you. Now, if you take this away, you will see more of those things. Again, more misinformation probably, which you could say that's just parody, fine. Maybe more hurtful things. I'm not sure like about if they still filter language, for example, but it's going to be interesting to see how they will balance that. Free range for everything, let's just go. Or when will they, put a stop to it? Because there needs to be a stop put to it eventually. If you just give people like, just do what you want, you know already what's going to happen. Right? So they can do it. There's this utopia of like, I just give people a voice and just let them do. That's not how it works, and you know it, and you're actually okay with it because it leads to engagement and interaction, and you don't care if it's positive or negative, let's be honest. And the last thing then, of course, framing theory, we talked about this before as well, means that, of course, Facebook Meta's policies shape like the way like political and social issues are also framed for the user that are consuming stuff on those platforms, right? So as we discussed before, like there's always a big picture to something, but then you put a frame on it, and then that's how you show it on different platforms, right? So it's never the whole picture that you see on Facebook, on Instagram, in your WhatsApp chat groups, and so on. It's just like how people that post it talk about it, right? And so now if there's no fact checking involved, you can basically put any kind of frame on the story, right? Even if that's the frame isn't true, you just make up frames. Just make your own frame. Frame things the way you want. Just, this is how it is. No fact checking. Maybe a small community note, maybe, but then that's it. Right, so you create the frames and no one looks and checks if the frame is valid. See any problem there? No, of course not. Because you're busy practicing BJJ, which is great. I love that Mark is doing martial arts. I love it. And I hope you can already see that there's an ethical dilemma there, right? Like if you look at the balance of maybe the lack thereof between like free speech and the responsibility to prevent harm. Like where's the line and what is Meta gonna do about it? Is there no line and just like, let's just hope everything regulates itself? Or when do we draw the line? Do we draw a line at like if someone's actually threatening someone? If someone is making up stuff? Like, where's the line? Okay. And if you look at the implications that there's not going to be any fact checking, you can just, Rogan himself talks about like all those misinformation campaigns by Russian bot armies all the time. Now, if there's no fact checking anymore, what's going to happen to those Russian bot armies? Do you think they just stop? No, of course not. Like, it's frustrating because he talks about it all the time and then he's like, oh, we shouldn't have fact checking. Do you see what you're saying? Whew. Okay, so that's like 15 minutes of ranting and kind of like freeing. I'm gonna bring it to a conclusion in a second. But if you listen to the previous episode where we talked about Musk, like if you compare like Zuck and Musk, like both media magnates, both have different philosophies, different strategies, yet they are very similar when it comes to the role in media, the role in power. And I think, but that's not just me, I think Zuck is seeing how Musk utilizes his standing And Zuck is like, I can do that too. And he slowly speaks more about stuff. It's not like just turning it on like from 0 to 100, but slowly talks more about like politics, about freedom of speech, about this. Now he has Dana White on the board, who's also very outspoken, of course. So slowly, I think Zuckerberg will step more and more into the limelight. And I think he's kind of a little bit, he will never admit it, a little bit inspired by how Elon is like using his media influence, I think. At the end, I do wanna make sure that I say this one more time. I said in the previous podcast episode as well. Don't just fall for all the frames that Meta, X, and so on are holding in front of you. Yeah, look left of the frame, right of the frame, below, behind. Move that frame away and see what's behind that for yourself. Be a mindful media user and make up your own minds. Okay? As always, I love to hear your feedback. What do you think about the new content policies by Meta, by getting rid of fact checking as much as they can? Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Let me know in the comments on Spotify or at FunkyPod on social media. Until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll talk soon. Sorry.